Hello again, Mr. Borelli. How are you today?
Monsieur Dixon Jones, bonjour.
What are we talking about today?
Are you fast? How fast are you?
I used to be fast, but look at me now.
Oh my God.
I'm getting slower every day.
Yeah, no, I'm keeping in good shape, but now that I can't go run around the mountain on my mountain bike anymore, I gotta be careful. But yeah,
speed. Page speed.
Yeah, it's the race to be the fastest to load. But first, how fast do you need to be for SEO? And is it a conspiracy that a slow website is not going to rank well?
So my opinion of this has changed a little bit recently. Firstly now, of course, if you're going to test your page speed, test it on mobile. It's the mobile first has changed it. But I used to think, I think they did. I think they brought in this speed element as a ranking factor relatively slowly. They gave us quite a lot of warning. They started.
It was caffeine. Remember caffeine when they say, "Now we are fast. You got to be fast."
Yeah, well, they did, but I think that they gave us tools. I don't know if it was caffeine. I think it was after caffeine, that they started to tell us you've got to start making your website fast. It was when they started to realize that mobile was going to become, the main platform in the future. So this is going back some years, but they didn't put it on us straight away. They did it in phases. But there's two reasons why they were doing it. One, mobile and fast is better for the user, but also if you've got a fast website, they can crawl it faster, and therefore they've got some better crawl capacity as well. So there is this second reason. Everything that Google does seems to have at least two motives. One that's good for the user, and then one that's good for Google in the back. And it saves them money. If all the sites load fast, it saves them money. So it's important for Google that they can crawl all this stuff reasonably quickly. And if your site is slow to load, then it's slow. Then they could take the raw HTML, but they can't then take some kind of a DOM and sort of the process stuff. So I used to think that it was a cliff thing. So I used to think that as long as your site was fast enough, there wouldn't be any penalty. I think in recent years, and this is just me now, and I'm happy for you to say otherwise, I think it has become more gradual. The faster your website is, the better that's going to be. So I think speed is an important ranking factor, whereas before I thought it was a cliff. You either got a penalty or you didn't get a penalty based on your speed. You agree?
Well, unfortunately, I think not everybody is equal on that level, because even if your website is very fast, right? You cache, you load, blah, blah, blah. If your server is in France, and now I think they got more crawlers, but back in the days, it was only Mountain View. They tried one in Korea.
Largely. Yeah.
But 6,000 kilometers one way, 6,000 kilometers way back. So there's this latency that if you want to be good, then you got to go do a CDN with one server in California to serve just Google. That would be the ultimate way. And I agree with you with this cliff thing where before, if you were fast enough, no problems. But now the war and what's called SEO, SEO plus RX, UX, and this, now the speed needs to be so fast, like within 1.5 seconds, the page to load, that it brings a level of complexity that most people can't reach. I mean,
well, here's the thing as well. I mean, it would be very easy if Google's got a PageRank score for every page, then it may as well have a speed score for every page. So so every time it loads a page, then it might as well work out the time it takes to index, maybe. So that may not be just the crawl time; it may be the crawl time, the how long it takes to run it through its web services WSC, which is kind of its JavaScript kind of interpretive thing, and then go through again. So it's not the same time as it's got the time to first paint is apparently a very important thing. So how long does it take for the user to be able to see something? And time to finish, I think, is fairly important as well, really. But that's a score. So when Google is then trying to match sites to the user's search query, then it can use that, and it's on the fly. It can actually sit there and say, right, I've got these 1,000 results that may all be appropriate. I've got various different things that I could order them in, but one of them could be, how quickly did they load last time round? And so that order could pretty much change on the fly depending on the last time they crawled the site. How long did it take to load?
From my understanding, Googlebot adapts to the speed of the website. If there is like a heavy load on the website, Googlebot is gonna chill. And
it does that at the server level, though, not at the website level or the page level. So, but that is also another factor, because it may not be your website that's holding your site up. It may be that somebody's got a very heavy database in a different website that you don't even know exists on your same IP number or on the same processor. So it may be that your site is slow, not because of what you're doing, but because of something else that's happening on the internet or on the server.
The very difficult part for me is that once you are fast, you'll see that the problems are not within your own technology, but all those services that you're calling off. I've seen, for example, the little chat thing, like being, I told my client, just remove it.
Yeah.
There's no way, just take it out. Well, yeah, but it's good. Take it out.
So we had add this plugin on the homepage of Inlinks for ages. And I was saying to Fred, look, that's stupid. It's just a whole load of buttons there. If you want the buttons, fine, put in buttons, but you don't have to call this third-party JavaScript that's going to take ages to work. That said, of course, Inlinks is third-party JavaScript, but you can make it very, very fast. You can make it so that it's only calling JSON LD files, but you do have to pay attention to those third-party scripts for sure. Yeah, they're the ones that hold things up.
I remember one case where it was calling off some banner, right? And the page was never loading. It was in loop. And if you don't monitor that, well, it could last until the provider decides to fix it. And those guys don't have speed as a main goal. They just don't.
They're trying to take information. Most of those free tools that are putting code on your website, they're making money somewhere. So they've got to be making it on the information that they're gleaning when that page loads.
And also the second problem I see is once you understand those tools like web page test, GTmetrix, all those PageSpeed, whatever, if you're a good developer or even decent SEO, you can understand what the tool wants. So you could trick it to have a good score, but the website is not going to be that great overall just because you understand how to please the tool, right?
Yeah, that's true. There's also quite a good way of having a look and seeing whether speed is your problem, because you can just go, because it's page by page. You've talked before about, for you go one keyword, one SERP result, one page, one keyword kind of idea approach, and whether you go with that or not. Ultimately, if you go to Google and have a look at the top 10 results that are coming back to that page and run a speed test over all of them, and then compare that to your own speed, you got a pretty good idea of whether you need to improve the speed on your page, because page speed is only relative to the other ones that are ranking for that particular circumstance, and some of them will be AMP driven as well, which, I'm not an AMP expert, but, Google is trying to push you towards AMP, and there's this other conspiracy about, we'll do it on another one, I'm sure, AMP and stuff, but certainly AMP is fast. I think page speed, clearly an important factor, increasingly important, but once you're as fast as everybody else in the top 10, you're probably fast enough.
Also, you mentioned before the mobile first. And for some clients, I'm even mobile only. Like
Yeah.
some of them, I mean, once you get to 95% of your traffic from mobile, is it really mobile first or just pretty much mobile only? That's the question you gotta ask. And to be good on mobile, in my opinion, you gotta build a website for the mobile, which is gonna be responsive enough to adapt for the desktop, and it's gonna make you take decision. Because the device implies that you're not going to have as many special effects and stuff that you're going to have on the desktop. So if you focus on mobile first or mobile only, whatever it is, but first do the mobile version of your website, you might take some very good decisions of stuff that you don't need to do the business anyway. And they're just all bunch of special effects and stuff. And also my second advice is don't test your website with all the online tool. I don't know what you have in England, if you have Fnac like in France or Spain, but go to one of those stores where they have all the mobile phones, right?
Yeah.
And test your website on every single tablet and phone physically. Because those emulator, no, you gotta try the website on the real devices, all the different screens, all the different Android, all the different stuff.
That's okay, but I can't do that for every single page.
No. But overall, when you are doing like a design, I'm thinking about like when you're building the website or redesigning it. But yeah, it's true that
there's the way in which you keep your scripts, your JavaScript in particular, filed is also very important because. I'm not an expert, but the caching of those scripts and things is kind of interesting. You can if you have a page, if you've got a whole load of JavaScript that you have on your site, but most of it only comes into play on 4 pages on your website: the FAQ page, the contact us page, and the login page or whatever, and it isn't used on the rest of it. Don't have it embedded in there and having bloated code that isn't used on 90% of your website. Try and have the right kind of stuff, but don't break it down so much that you have to call lots and lots of files every single time the page loads. It's getting that balance right. The number of file requests that you make will significantly impact your load time, page speed.
It's getting more difficult when you're using a script, like let's take Magento, for example, right? You're going to have like over 1,000 lines of code. You're going to have 2 lines of content, 1 image, a little description of product.
Yeah.
So you're going to have like hundreds of lines of code, JavaScript, CSS, all on the page. But the problem, if you minify, if you externalize it, well, it's not going to work anymore. All those plugins, all those stuff that inject a lot of... Those guys don't have SEO and speed in their mind. They're just trying to make something work. But it's not true that it's optimized for... It's very rare that all those plugins and all those scripts are well optimized. So it's... It's a balance, you know, usability, speed, special effects, beauty, you want something pretty and so on. Very difficult. In the ideal SEO world, yeah, it would be all HTML, just full of text, you know, white page, text, HTML, no dynamic rendering, nothing. That's what we want.
It's true. I think it still means that speed is important. That's what I was going to say. Yeah, you make the point about minifying and stuff. It was interesting. I mean, you know, Inlinks was building a pretty cool tool, and it was some months. Well, it was about a month after we'd launched that somebody came back to us and said, "But you give me unminified JavaScript." You know, so, oh yeah, that we can fix. You know. Yeah. You know, but not every bit of JavaScript is gonna fix that. You know, they're just not going to bother. And so you're right. You know, somebody's got to trace those bits of slowness right the way back to their source, and then got to find somebody that can fix it at its source. You know, which isn't always easy.
And the last point we need to address is, okay, there is the technology of the website, but the server. You need to have someone who is very skilled in the way you need to set up the server, and not every server is equal on this internet thing.
That's very true, and some of those decisions that the servers make can have impacts as well. So there's, for example, WP Engine they pride themselves on being very fast for hosting WordPress websites, but that speed comes at a cost, and one of those costs is they block huge amounts of traffic, some of which is crawler traffic. Yeah. So and some of those crawlers are, I wouldn't be surprised if they block Quant. Why would you do that? Because you're trying to make it fast, because that's what you've decided is the most important thing. But if you're blocking a search engine like Quant or potentially a Yandex or a Bing or anybody but Google, then you're going to be blocking some pretty bad stuff. And if Google starts using different proxies and stuff and comes around as something else, then you might be blocking Google as well. So there are trade-offs for speed always at the server level, and it's not always easy for us as the webmasters to see what those trade-offs are. I think having too many websites on the same machine won't be a problem unless some of those websites get very, very busy. And if they're getting very, very busy, the machines themselves are doing other things. It's exactly the same as trying to open up too many screens on your laptop. At some point it goes, and if it goes just as Google kind of comes and crawls it goes, whoa, as you say, I'll stand off now. That doesn't seem right.
How do you call that in English? In French, it's infogérance, the guy who takes care of the server.
Webmaster.
No, not that. That's
sorry, the administrator.
Administrator. Yeah. I mean, some of those guys are wizards. You don't know until you've seen them or if you've talked to them. Mine, some of the words he uses, they are not even on Wikipedia. Like, it's in the matrix. And the stuff he does, I mean, it's magic. They are really, once you've encountered those very good ones, wow, it's another world, and it makes a whole difference. And
Majestic are great and are absolutely amazing what they can do over there. They can configure all sorts of stuff. For me, all I can do is understand cPanel, it's amazing how much faster you can make a machine just understanding your cPanel or your own VPN or your own server. But ultimately, it's a case of, do you trust the guys at the back end? Have they got their own data center? Is their data center connected up with the right kind of lines? And what kind of machines are they?
It's so important.
Yeah. And of course, that will change over time, because your machine today is going to be old in 5 years' time. So.
And like you said, it's all a matter of. It reminds me of how you build those little lenses, because the technology here is all about pulling and pushing. If you want a wider thing, then it's going to impact. And same for server, it's all about
compromise.
Compromise, yeah, exactly. And you can't have a perfect solution. If you want to be better at this, then you gotta lower your expectation on something else. So yeah, please take your server seriously, take your technology seriously, but behind the website, the server is all as important.
You've also got to think about other things, like, if you've got a very fast machine, it's probably using a lot of energy, so you're probably doing your bit to destroy the planet. So what are your priorities, I guess?
Yeah. What is the next topic? The next topic is fresh content. Do we really need to update the website every day? Are you gonna please Googlebot if you have new content?
Let's find out next time.
Okay. Au revoir.
Cheers. Au revoir.